Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on here on the show today for a Remember Wednesday, which we always enjoy having some member berries to take, but that's presented by Fayetteville Flyco, so we'll get into some of that. We'll also have a little vibe check the chat presented by friends at Basis Health. We'll get into some crazy headlines and all that fun stuff with BetSaracen. We'll have Who's Our Heavy Hitter presented by HD Roofing and Construction, and we're going to try to get to everything for Razorback football, basketball, baseball, and even some news around the country. But guys, how are we feeling here on a hump day on a Wednesday here in Arkansas?
Pretty good, man. It never a bad day for hump day. You know what I'm saying? So, no, I gotta tell you, we're obviously trying to get the house like baby ready and everything. So, we've got our bedroom and then 2 extra bedrooms. One of them is the office where I'm at now. So we've got that. And then the other one's just kind of been turned into like a workout room. So we're trying to clear out the garage and make that the workout room. That way we can do the nursery or whatever. So we rented from the city of Fayetteville one of those like industrial dumpsters, you know, like you see at restaurants or whatever. And I filled that sucker up with, you know, just stuff, junk from the garage and everything. I'm sore in parts of my body that I didn't even know existed. I feel older today than I've ever felt in my life. I'm barely moving around. I'm like an old man, lurch style out there. It's crazy.
Well, I feel bad because I'm not an old man, but anytime I exert any type of physical activity, I end up being sore. I was cramping up. You know how you almost cramped up in the car the other day? I was cramping up at the movie theater last night, leaned back in my recliner, and I was like, which is always a tough one. And I'm too young to be cramping up after doing like 12 push-ups. But no, I feel very good on this Wednesday. Got to hear from Dave Van Horn, who made me feel better about my life, made me feel better about my existence, and the boys are locked in. Is the takeaway that's pretty much what he said at the press conference.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hopeful for that. I'm hopeful and it's amazing what Dave Van Horn just talking to you can do for your psyche on everything as well. So, but yeah, it was good to hear. We'll have some something from that. I know you posted it, Andrew, but I'll play that clip. That was pretty fun since we're talking about Texas and everything. We'll have some fun with that too. And again, get into your chats and all the stuff that's going on in the world. I did want to say this, just random out of the gate. Has nothing to do with anything, but just saw you retweeted this too, Curtis. It looks like the ownership group behind On3 has acquired Rivals and has forged a partnership with Yahoo Sports. So, wow, okay. So no, Rivals is not a thing anymore, I guess.
It's been a big day for news with Rivals.
Yeah, man. Oh man. So
I plead the fifth.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was only a matter. Well, I say a matter of time before something like that happened, but it seemed like something was going to change with Rival just overall. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about like the Arkansas specific site, but just in general, whether or not that was going to continue to be a thing or if they were going to forge a new partnership like this or what it would look like. It actually makes sense. I'm anxious to read more about it once we get off the show here and see what that's going to look like and everything. But I know On3 is trying to create whatever kind of monopoly they can. Like they're trying to become a challenger for 24/7 in the college sports recruiting network circles or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out for sure.
Yeah, shout out to Shannon Terry, who just owns all of these sites, right?
He started all of them. Yeah,
it's pretty crazy, but obviously that's a guy who knows what he's doing, and so anytime he does anything, you have to kind of keep an eye out of like, oh wait, this is something here. So yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting. Yeah, I don't want to say anything more on it before I get myself in trouble either.
Yeah, that's one of those things we'll save for that private stream that we'll do later, and give those
members only.
Things. Yeah, members only stream that we'll have later on. But either way, I just wanted to get that out of the way. But we ended the show yesterday talking about the Kane Archer commitment when he was going to UCF, and when that happened, it's cool. All right, well, good luck to you, whatever. And I don't know, I just felt like there were some, not all, but some people that I feel like almost still live back in the days of when you lose an in-state kid, how it's like detrimental to everything. And shows the competence of the school, and it can be in any sport, football, basketball, baseball, or anything like that. And is Kane Archer a good player? I think so. Is he to the level of the Darren McFaddens of the world or the Ryan Malletts of the world when it came to being those Arkansas kids? I don't think so. But man, it was just so weird to see. I felt like I was back in time where just because of the current state of sports and college athletics, I don't know, losing an in-state kid like that doesn't feel the same, doesn't hurt as bad, doesn't frustrate me as much. It's almost like, he could be back next year. Who knows? But I was just really surprised by some of the reaction for Kane Archer's departure from the state of Arkansas.
Yeah, it's and I think that was the thing with that is he was like a phenom a couple years ago or whatever, right? Like it was like, holy cow, this dude's going to be him or whatever. So he got on the radar early and people attached to that. But you're right, man. I think since the transfer portal era really started taking off, especially when it was like NIL and then those transfers don't have to set a year, they can play right away. I think that eased some of the sting, right? On if an in-state guy left or whatever, because you're just recruiting an entirely different way than you used to. But I don't know. I mean, to me, and I like having, as many in-state guys as you can. I think it helps with connecting the team and the program to the fan base and all that. But I mean, when at the end of the day, if a guy goes to, where'd he commit? UCF?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then your other competition is Rhett Lashley and Dow Loggins. It's, was it really a whiff? Is it really that big of a loss or whatever? I think when people like get the initial sting of, oh, I heard a year ago that this guy was going to be the truth and now he's going somewhere else. When you get away from that and really just kind of look at it objectively, it would be like, okay, whatever, no big deal.
I mean, and look, we wish Kane Archer the best. We spoke about it yesterday that like a guy not committing to you out of high school pretty much means nothing because he would kind of check a lot of boxes of a guy that maybe later in his career, if circumstances are different, coaches are different, maybe would end up coming back to Arkansas. So like there's, the Kane Archer story is going to play out. And like you said, we wish him the best. It's a fun story. It's a cool thing. I mean, Greenwood has obviously produced so many cool athletes, so it's always cool to monitor that kind of stuff. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is my take on the situation. If this were any other position and this were at any other school in the state of Arkansas and this were any other circumstance where you haven't had this whole media tour push for this kid since he was 14 years old, if this was a corner or a safety who was an 85 3-star on 24/7 Sports, which, like the 85 3-stars, that's like a mid-range 3-star. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Nobody in the world, including like in the state of Arkansas, would even bat an eye. In fact, if he had signed with Arkansas, people probably would have been like, damn, why are we taking this in-state kid? Like I wish we were getting like a edge rusher out of the portal or blah, blah, blah. It would have been one of those things, but he's become a very polarizing figure. And there's a lot that's gone into that. And a quarterback's a big position, but yeah, I don't know. I was definitely surprised. This strikes to me like a litmus test for just like who is paying attention and who knows what's like, not even saying that we're like the most plugged in guys of all time. Hell, y'all know me. I don't follow recruiting like at all. The only thing I know about recruiting most of the time is what people tell me. And even I, for like 18 months, have known that like this was never like him to Arkansas never really seemed like it was a match made in heaven. It didn't seem like there was a ton of mutual buzz there. We pretty much heard for a long time that this was not happening. So I think the people that were surprised by this and the people that like think this is like a massive, like groundbreaking move. Again, I'm not knocking on anybody, but it feels like a very good litmus test for like, who knows what's going on at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing where you guys both brought it up of hearing about him. That's where I think a lot of people's takes and maybe like their feelings on everything come from. If you just took away his name and you just saw the, hey, 3-star player, in-state kid from Arkansas, here are his offers list, then some people would be like, oh, we'd like to have him, but if you lose out on him, it is what it is. But because he is a guy that everyone had been hearing about for so long, this is one of the things that I stress and I've always kind of felt uncomfortable with. I remember dating back to Matt Barkley when Lane Kiffin offered him a scholarship when he was like 14. And everybody was like, this is insanity. Like, what in the world? And it was so strange. And that's where, I felt weird then. And I'm not saying this is the same exact concept, but I've always just felt strange about dubbing players when they're at a certain age of like 14 or whatever, being like, dude, this guy, he's going to be a 5-star. He's going to be number 1 in the country. He's going to do this. Like you guys were 14 once. Like, you know how much changes from when you're 14 to when you're 18. Not only with your mentality, but your physical appearance, your everything. And so I've always just felt weird about that. And that's where I don't feel bad for Kane Archer because he's going to be great and everything's going to be fine. So I don't put this against him or anything, but it's almost like I feel bad because so much like emphasis was put on him at such a young age that this is where some of the reactions come in of like, oh, okay, well, he's going elsewhere. We missed out on him. I saw someone say, it was like, I can't believe, we got outbid by UCF. It's like, I don't think that that's really how that works. And I don't think that that's what this case was. But again, it was about the fact that he was a kid who was in state and from the get-go 4 or 5 years ago was being dubbed as the next big thing, and you didn't get him. So I feel bad for him, but I also don't feel like any fan, even if you hate Sam Pittman, you want him fired, all that, any fan should just look at this as some sort of massive failure, disaster, because of so many different options, but especially in the fact that he's not to that level of a player. And also, not saying it'll happen, but who knows? Maybe if you have a new coach, maybe if he doesn't like UCF, he could come back next year and it'll all be okay. And then you just don't even remember it. So it's just a different world and a different time right now.
Yep.
So I just, but anyways, I thought that was funny with the reactions that some people had. I don't know why, but
I was just going to say, I thought that like, it's one of those times in sports, and we do this a lot in college sports, where a player who is not polarizing by himself as a player, like his personality or his game or anything, not polarizing by any stretch of the imagination. And by the way, Kane Archer, I should say, like, fun to watch. Like, he's had some electric moments in his high school football career. I'm sure he's going to have a productive career somewhere and, going to have some awesome moments. But he's not polarizing by any means. Like, he's not, you read the internet and it's everybody's either like, oh, this guy sucks, can't play at the D1 level. Or it's like, dude, this is a prodigy that like everyone needs to get. And neither of those things are true. And we just have to pretend like one or the other is true because that's where we are in this world. But really, it's like, it sucks for the kid, like you said, John, because like there's so much attention and so much scrutiny and so much talk about a guy that's like, probably gonna be a fine college quarterback.
Yeah, and that's all it is. And it can be okay just saying that he's going to be a fine quarterback, and that's it. But there'll be some other things too, as far as for the Razorback football team. I did want to bring this up. They did have a new addition to the team yesterday, which I always laugh because I know you guys probably the same way. Whenever you have notifications turned on for certain Twitter accounts, like Razorback football, for instance, sometimes it'll be cool stuff, funny stuff, whatever. But then there's just like, hey, we added this player. I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that's what you're looking for. But still, this particular player, Frank Mulapola from Pago, American Samoa, Tafuna High School, UTPB. Those are all real words that I tried to read. 6'4", 275 pounds. He's a defensive lineman. Listen, I don't know if this guy's any good. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't even know where he's from or I haven't heard anything of him. But I saw this picture of him, as you can see right there, and I'm like, I'm rooting for this guy right here. I can't wait to see what he can do. But either way, you may have lost out on Kane Archer, but you got yourself Frank Mulapola, who hopefully ends up being great for the Razorback defensive line. Love this picture already.
Yeah, I was going to say this might be the best of those commitment graphics yet in terms of the picture. The dude looks the part. He's got some crazy in his eyes, which I think you need on the defensive line. So I'm here for it, man. I'm all about it. UT Permian Basin, is that Division I or is it FCS or is it Division II? I don't know, but
Division II.
But I don't care. He looks the part, man.
He certainly looks the part. I'm wondering, at some point, are we going to have a Razorback Haka?
I hope so.
I don't know. I mean, like, obviously, I think y'all are familiar with Haka. Hakas are electric every single time I've seen them. Like, the first time I ever saw one was whenever the Olympic basketball team played New Zealand. And
that was crazy.
And you see like Derrick Rose, James Harden, all these guys watching them. I remember seeing that being like, holy cow, what is this? But being like fascinated by it. And now obviously there's a lot of UFC fighters that I watch that are, either something and doing the Haka. I think we need to get a Razor. We might have to, the three of us, if he has like a big game where he has multiple sacks, we might have to do a Haka.
Yeah, I'm for it.
I would love to learn it. I got to get my intensity up though. I mean, you got to be
the facial
kind of crazy and dialed. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like you got to be like almost like demonish if you come out with that and just look the part, sound it. Because that's one of those things you just can't come out and do 50-50. I mean, you got to go all in. You got to go all in on the partnership of doing it with everybody there. So yeah, you got to make that happen. But
he put up numbies where he was at, but obviously, and we say this about every one of those guys in this situation. It's a big jump, man, from where you were to where you're headed. So we'll see.
Here's my thing. I just like the fact that he plays defensive line and he's coming to Arkansas to try and help, because that's really what we've been, obviously, we would have all liked them to go out and get, 3 edge rushers that have a bunch of proven SEC production and all that. But those don't grow on trees. And so really, like we've said all along, we really felt like this D line is something that Arkansas's needed to address. They've tried to address it this offseason, and, we've heard various things. But this spring portal window, we knew they were going to bring in at least somebody on that defensive line. And so, I'll take any help we can get on that area in that front. I do wonder, though, I think at the end of this, maybe this summer we'll have to look at a big picture and say, all right, did Arkansas do enough to adequately address all their issues in the spring portal? In some cases, they really did, I think. But it's I think the D-line is definitely going to be the room that has the most question marks around it after the spring portal window.
It probably comes down to, tell me if you agree with this, are Ian Jaffard and Danny Saili really primed to go from, very limited snap count guys a season ago to being very, very much relied on, in your 2 deep there within that rotation? If they are, then you'll probably be okay there. If they're not, then you might be kind of screwed there outside of your top 2, because out after Cam Ball, who missed the spring with that shoulder injury, and David Oakey, who's also making a leap himself. There's not a whole bunch of snaps and experience there. So I don't know, man.
One thing I think we should point out, this is, by the way, this is pro. Everybody that the Sunshine Pumpers, listen close. One thing that we've actually seen a good bit here in the last 3 or 4 years is when Deke Adams has guys for 2, 3, 4 years at Arkansas, there's actually a pretty high success rate in terms of those guys developing into legitimate pieces. And some of them have turned into just kind of guy, like a Zach Williams type of guy who's just like kind of there, gives snaps to you. But you look at a guy like Cam Ball, who's going to be one of your senior leaders. He's maybe not taking the huge jump we all hope, but like he's gotten pretty much better year over year. Landon Jackson, of course, got better every single year at Arkansas. And so Ian Jaffard is probably the one that jumps out where I'm like, I could really see the case for this guy. Maybe not this year, but by the end of next year, being a real like NFL prospect. So I'm willing to give them some benefit of the doubt, but I think that's going to be Jaffard is kind of the one that jumps out where it's like he has to be a hit, like this year.
Yeah. Well, and I think you guys mentioned, I think it's fascinating. You mentioned Deke Adams. It's like Deke Adams is the assistant coach at Arkansas, and he's been there now. What is this going to be, his 4th year, third year maybe? As the coach there, because they went through some trials at the defensive line position, coaching as far as just one and dones, trying to figure it out. But I remember when Deke Adams was hired, I was like, wow, this guy has pretty much coached everywhere in the SEC, it feels like. I don't know how good it's going to be. He was in JUCO or whatever. But he's one of the coaches where, and I mean this also as a compliment, even if it may not sound like it, I do mean it as a compliment. It's like he's been the one coach that's not like made it to where the team is elite at that position, but they're not an issue. They're not a problem. They're not a thing where like, oh, geez, this is the biggest weakness on the team. He's done a solid job of developing, of recruiting, of, staying in line, keeping for the most part. I know they've had some transfers here and there, but they've done a good job of kind of keeping pretty consistent on that front line. It helps when you have a player like a Landon Jackson and all that. But as far as compared to the other position groups on the team, I feel like the line, since Deke Adams has been there, has been one of the more consistent ones, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, he has. I do feel like I don't know, he's had a little bit more talent maybe in the room, in years past. I'm very concerned about Arkansas's defensive line here. But you're right. I mean, he has kind of been that guy and proven that. Ian Jaffard, I mean, he's a mountain of a man. I think the question for me is how large of a snap load would he be able to handle, right? And has he gotten more athletic? Can he go from kind of the specialty guy who just they put him in there when they need to plug things up right there in the middle to someone that can play, regardless of the situation and give you multiple series in a row? They better hope so. That's pretty much all I got on that one.
Yeah,
we're probably going to see more three down lineman situation, right? 3-man fronts.
Yeah, which I remember when people were blaming that on Barry Odom. They were like, yes, Barry Odom loves a 3-man front. I'm like, he's literally never done it until now that he kind of has to. But again, that was the year we were saying that the year before Deke Adams got there, and we all ate crow on Deke Adams. When they hired him, we were all like, what the hell? Like, we did not see the vision. But then they had a couple of those D-lines with, John Ridgeway, Trey Williams, and all those guys. That one year they had like the full rotation. They had like a five-man rotation. You had that kid, Terry Hampton, was like D lineman number 9 for them, and he was actually pretty solid. Like, they had a real rotation there for a couple years, and you saw Landon Jackson develop. You saw all these guys, go on to play NFL football. But last year, I would say was probably their weakest year since he took over. You were able to kind of make it work because you had a 3rd-round pick coming off the edge that was playing. They literally played Landon like 65 snaps a game.
Yeah.
And so this year is going to be a little bit of a big test. As much crow as we have eaten on the Deke Adams front in past years, last year may have been the shakiest year, and now this year, on paper, this might be the worst group he's had. And so this is kind of a we have to really get, we're giving them some benefit of the doubt, but like they have to trust their development. Like their development has to be huge. They have to hit on probably 3 or 4 of these dudes, and we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think before we move on, I was curious because I saw that Ian Jaffard, he's 6'5", 389 pounds is what he's listed at, and that's pretty large. But I was looking at the guy, Elijah Brown, who's out of El Dorado. He's 6'3", 370. So not saying that, because obviously one's 2 inches taller and the other one's 20 pounds, but I'm like, that's still a huge individual, just thinking about a 6'3", 370 pound dude, which I don't know if he's going to do anything or not, but they got at least some beef down there in the middle of the line. That's for sure. So we'll see how it plays out for him. But I tell you what, since it is a Remember Wednesday, let's go ahead and get into a little Remember Wednesday action presented by friends over at Fayetteville Fly Co. We appreciate them. They got incredible stuff when it comes to all of your outdoors apparel, and they actually have some really great deals going on right now. If you go to fflyco.com, they have a massive special on all of last year's hats, where you're going to talking about all the different hats they have, the camo hats from Fayetteville Fly Co, everything. You can still use the code HOGSBY20 for 20% off, but they're having a clearance sale, if you will, and they have a lot of great hats from last year too, so you can check it out. But any purchase that you make with Fayetteville Fly Co, to fflyco.com, use that promo code HOGSBY20 for 20% off your purchase. Even still have the Rod Hog as I'm wearing today. So check it out again at Fayetteville Fly Co. It's fflyco.com. So just for a Remember Wednesday action, guys, since Arkansas is playing Texas in baseball this week, which we'll have some fun with here in just a little bit. It's always a Texas hate week, no matter what the sport is. But my Remember Wednesday was, do you remember when Heston Kjerstad shoved that first baseman for Texas in the College World Series down on the ground?
Do you remember that?
That's big time. I think that was on Mother's Day.
It was the 2018 College World Series.
It was Father's Day. It was definitely Father's Day. It was Father's Day, not Mother's Day.
Father's
I'm sorry.
Day, yeah. I always get them mixed up Mother's Day is in May, I think, and Father's Day is in June, something like that. But yeah, I just remember him shoving that Texas baseball player to the ground. And I remember watching it live. I was like, oh man, are they going to eject him? Are they going to, have some problems here and everything? And literally nothing happened. And Texas was so upset and, thought he was a terrible human being for even doing that. But I just remember that. And it was kind of like a meme that was made for Heston Kjerstad just shoving a guy to the ground. It was a great moment. And I've loved that. We always talk about great Texas wins, which I'm sure we'll get into as well. But that was just a moment against Texas in a sport where I was like, yeah, Heston Kjerstad, he has no ties to Arkansas, but he's a Razorback now because he shoved the Longhorn to the ground.
By the way, that was the same game as the game we just talked about the other day with Blaine Knight, where he was like, I don't care if Cody Clemens got 24 jacks on a year or not. He's going to have to hit my pitch. Like that, it was that game in the College World Series, which Arkansas had played that same Texas team in a midweek game or a midweek series early that year, which, by the way, I remember that it was like mid-March. And the crowd, you would have thought it was an SEC May weekend, the way the crowd was on a Tuesday and Wednesday night in March. That crowd is why I think this weekend's crowd is going to be bananas.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's going to be, everyone's looking forward to it anyways, but yeah, with all the history between them and knowing about how good Texas is, also helps when Texas is number one, in the country. It's always going to be a big series no matter what, but they've had some, even outside the SEC, they've played a lot, had some games when they've gone up against each other. And also Schloss, because I feel like most baseball fans just don't like Schloss, man. Like, he's not a good human being. So that's probably what a lot of people are going to be going after him as well. So I don't know. I got people texting me to think that Arkansas is going to sweep this weekend, which I'm hopeful for, but
I've been saying, I literally, John, I'm not kidding. I've been reporting that for weeks.
You
I have been saying that for weeks that Arkansas was going to sweep Texas. I don't know about sweep, but I do think they're going to. I do think they're going to win and play well.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
I mean, they're not going to go 27-3 in the SEC, right? I mean,
no, dude, they win a lot. They win a lot of one-run games.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
And then
they have an injury, pitcher, right?
Yeah, they're Friday night starters out for the year. As of like last week.
It's time. They need to be humbled a little bit. It's going to be a very Lawson Blake type of weekend for Texas.
Listen, I don't want to be a snitch over here or anything, but like, I'm trying to think of how I should word this. I think the two coaches in this weekend's matchup are looking forward to the opportunity to coach against one another in a respectful, but very much a, everybody has someone that's like their enemy in life. These guys, they respect each other, but like they know they got a lot of wars over the years that have happened already and that are gonna continue to happen. And I think they both kind of like it. I mean, Schlossnagle, I don't know if there's anybody that likes that guy, frankly, but everybody respects him, even his players. It was funny whenever A&M, he leaves from A&M to Texas, and in this transfer portal era, you think every single player is going to go with him. None of them. There was a couple. There was like two. But like really, he didn't get Jay Slaviolette. He didn't get Ryan Prager. He didn't get Gavin Grohovic. None of their big fish went with him to Texas, and that was stunning. And I think it kind of says a lot. But then he just out of nowhere builds a monster of a Texas team that's very much a threat to win it all. And it's like he's going to have a good team regardless of if you love him or hate him. And that's what makes this weekend stuff like this so fun.
Yeah, I always wonder what was a bigger slap in the face to the schools in Texas. Was it when Chris Beard left Texas Tech to go to Texas, or was it when Schloss left? It has to be when Schloss left A&M to go to Texas, right?
I don't know. But I'm also not as plugged in, obviously, to the baseball situation as I was hoops. I do remember when Texas and Texas Tech played each other that first year of Chris Beard, and it was like super freaking hostile, man. And they were like throwing stuff at the bus and cussing them out as the team was getting off that thing. And Texas Tech fans infiltrated Texas Arena, for the game. And like it was I will always remember how crazy that was. Especially recently, because I was always comparing that to like, what will this look like for Cal going back to Kentucky and everything. So that was nuts to me, but the Schloss thing is crazy too. I don't know. What do you think, Andrew?
I feel like Texas Tech as an athletic department is just, I know they're probably not, they don't view themselves as that different than A&M. But I just view them lower in general. Now, basketball, they were rolling under Chris Beard. Were they coming off a Final Four, or was it the year after?
Maybe the year after. Yeah.
They went to the title game, right?
They did.
Yeah. So it's like they were right there as like knocking on the door of a natty. But big picture, Texas Tech basketball, like I know Bobby Knight coached there, but it's like, it's not like I wouldn't say it's a regal program by any means. So it's like a basketball coach leaving Texas Tech for Texas kind of makes sense. And I guess Texas A&M with Texas. I mean, Texas baseball is a crazy good program. But it's just like the rivalry, and now that being a conference thing, like I don't know. I feel like that was bigger, and it was literally days after the national title. That's what made it worse too. Beard, I don't remember the timing, and I really don't remember all the how the timeline of it all. But like, I don't remember it being right after that. I don't remember him being asked about it in his press conference to finish the title game, which is crazy. And Schloss was like, "I will never leave."
Yeah,
he already signed on the dotted line, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, as looking out from the outsider's perspective, I just kind of felt like, and nobody would say this in Texas Tech or anything like that, but I felt like when Beard left Texas Tech for Texas, it maybe made a little bit more sense to me, at least, because it was like, okay, well, Texas Tech isn't exactly a big time program in basketball, and I'm not saying Texas is lucrative either, but it's Texas. I mean, they got more money than anything. They got all the support. As long as you win, like they got it. But like going from A&M to Texas in baseball, which I know Texas baseball is incredible, but setting up for NIL, setting up for everything else, it was like, I mean, was there really something you would get at Texas that you wouldn't get at Texas A&M as far as talent, players, all that? Maybe there was, but I always felt like that was just a little bit bigger. And like you said, Andrew, coming off the title game and him already not being the most likable person as it is, was a big deal. And Also, Chris Beard was at Texas Tech for just a few years, and that was a guy who went from Little Rock to UNLV for a hot second, and then went to Texas Tech, and then went to Texas, and then he was unemployed. Now he's at Ole Miss. So, he's on the go a lot. That Chris Beard guy.
Schlossnagle, I haven't seen him. I haven't paid enough attention. Like, I haven't been watching his press conferences or anything, but I remember when he was at A&M, he had multiple press conferences where he like called out the fan base and was literally like, yeah, it'd really be nice. Our starting pitcher gets pulled after 6 and a third. Would really be nice if maybe our fans could give up and maybe give him a round of applause or whatever. And then like there was one midweek game where he's like, damn, man, it feels like a scrimmage out here. What the hell? Like, I don't understand. Like, he was very weird with the fans. And so like some guys like that, just like, I mean, we this isn't a stunt to y'all, but like there's always coaches who just kind of piss off everyone everywhere they go. Like, they just never really see eye to eye with anybody. Yeah, he's just one of those guys, but those are the guys that are great in sports, though. I hate to say.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, that'll be a nice little transition because this actually all worked out because I want to play this clip that you cut, Andrew, from Dave Van Horn. We'll use that for our Alumni Hall question of the day, presented by Alumni Hall, the #1 Razorback shopping experience. If you go there in store, 3417 North College Avenue, you can use that code HOGS20 for 20% off your purchase. You can also go online at insidearkansas.com/Alumni Hall and get all the Razorback apparel you could possibly want. Again, for 20% off using that code HOGS20. They have everything, especially for this weekend. If you're needing some new shirts, needing some rain gear in case of the rain coming in, they have it all over there at Alumni Hall. So check them out today again at insidearkansas.com/Alumni Hall using that promo code HOGS20 for 20% off. I asked this question mainly for fans, and we can talk about ones that like I had to make sure I said it on Twitter because sometimes people would just be not paying attention. But it's like, what's your favorite win that Arkansas's had over Texas in all sports? And there's one that you actually witnessed, not being like, the 1964 game was my favorite. Well, you were -18, so that does not count. But Dave Van Horn was essentially asked about that in his press conference today, and he had a pretty cool response, and it did nothing to do with baseball, actually.
Like growing up as a fan, as a student, grad assistant, are there any moments or memories in this rivalry that immediately pop up when you reminisce about it?
Yeah, it's from another sport. My junior year, September 2000. No, make that. I don't even know what year that was. That'd have been 82, spring of 81, fall of 81. There we go. And we beat Texas 42-11. I think the game started at 11 a.m. and the party stopped about 11 a.m. the next day. It was nuts. And I remember a bunch of students carried the goalpost all the way down to Dixon Street. They closed Dixon Street down. It was a zoo. It's when I mean close it down, you couldn't drive, and it was fun. And that I'd only been here about a month, and I just remember one of their players said after the week before they interviewed him after Texas beat somebody, and he said, "Hey, Arkansas, you haven't seen nothing yet." And then they came up here and we got after him pretty good, so it was fun. And
so. Dave Van Horn, man. Partier.
I love that he remembers the guy doing his press conference the week before. Like, he remembers that. I don't remember that. Like, I'd never heard that, honestly. I'm sure it happened, and I'm sure, the old folks remember it. But, like, as many times I've been told that I haven't. But I love that, like, Dave, even as a college student, is just, like, keeping that bulletin board material. He's like, don't say that shit about us.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I love the fact that he first off he said its game started at 11 a.m. So back then, people probably pissed the game was at 11 a.m. even then back in 1982 or 81, as he mentioned. But also said the party started, game started at 11. The party didn't end until 11 a.m. the next morning. I guess my question is do you think Dave was part of that party? You think Dave was out there hell raising a little bit and celebrating?
Yeah. How would he have known when the party ended if he wasn't there for the end of the party? I mean, a lot of times, that's just how it is. He went on to say, because I think Hutch maybe said, like, did you get your hands on the goalpost? Like, did you actually touch it? And he was like, no, I didn't. And he was like, ask Dudley. He might have been down there.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I don't know. I just trying to picture Dave like being out there and just partying it up, even as a young lad in college, is a cool thing. But yeah, he has that memory too. And as far as y'all go, it doesn't have to be like your favorite or whatever. But in any sport, like when you think Arkansas, Texas, and Arkansas win over Texas, what's the first one that you always refer to or think of?
It has to be 2021. I mean, that's the low hanging fruit, but it's just true. And we were there, for it to watch it, and at the time, I mean, it was just, it just has so much to do with everything involved in the moment. Like it wasn't even just Arkansas, Texas, as much as it was everything that Arkansas's football program had been through. And then Sam Pittman comes, like he wins a couple SEC games or 3 SEC games or whatever, and you feel decent about it. But everything, remember, like it was COVID restricted and it was stupid and whatever. And it kind of reminds me of the Auburn basketball game from the standpoint of it was all about the moment. Like finally, you could fill the entire stadium, and you've been waiting for what feels like forever for this football program to kind of have that moment and really make that statement of like, hey, we're back. And then they went out there and did what they did to those boys and stormed the field and everything. And I mean, that was a huge, huge event in the moment. It was awesome, man. Like I'll never forget that. It was incredible.
Yeah, I concur. That's the one that like forever will probably be that. And obviously, like, you know, we've gotten far enough away from it to where I think now that we look back on it, it actually aged better because of Arkansas football really didn't have moments like that. Because in the moment, we did really think like, oh, this is going to be, you know, this is year 2 of Sam Pittman, first full season. Like you said, first time you've had a capacity crowd like that. It was a big deal. I also remember it was like 6 p.m. ESPN, and there was nothing on college football that weekend. Like they had loaded up the week 1 schedule, but the week 2 schedule kind of sucked. So like it was Arkansas and Texas were like everyone was watching just because they had nothing else to watch. That was a big deal. Also for me personally, and Curtis, you know, you and I were very early in our friendship then. I had just met John the week before, but he didn't remember it. But for me personally, it was the second game I covered as a full-time member of the Razorback beat.
Yeah.
And I remember as like, you know, I always feel this way about my life sometimes where I'm like, man, I really just lucked into some random crap. You know, I'm like, I how did I end up that? You know, because like I planned on doing this, planned on being here. But then like when I watched Arkansas beat Texas, I was like, you know, I always want things to work out for Arkansas and things to work out for me. I'm like, it's kind of crazy that like my second day here on the beat is this. Like that's kind of crazy. So it's one that I'll always remember fondly. And weirdly enough, like I said, I think it has aged better because of how bad the program's been since then.
What was it like? Was your first one Rice?
Yeah, Rice. Yeah, that was a tough one. That was a tough one. That was the day I met you. Was the Rice game, and that was I mean, it ended up being an okay second half, but that was the vibes in the arena, not great.
Yeah, I do remember that Rice game too. But the Texas game, I was in the north end zone, and kind of what all you guys said about how long it had been since Arkansas had felt that good, and I just remember how great it was because, as you mentioned too, Andrew, that was a 6 p.m. game on ESPN. Like that I mean, that's prime time. And you got Joe Tessitore on the call. And it felt like it had been so long since you even had a game that was that relevant. And, you know, people bringing up the rivalries and traditions and the atmosphere of everything going on. And I think the thing that I remember the most about that, as weird as it is, was the fact that obviously I had a good time. But I remember getting text messages and tweets from people like national. Like I remember Peter Burns texted me. I remember Alyssa Lang, Casey Smith, like you had just random people like that were, well, just saying like random people that I remember were just, I hadn't talked to in a long time or whatever.
Subtle flex.
But yeah, they were just sending me these texts of like, man, like that's awesome type of thing. Like, hey, how's it feel? This is crazy. And I just remember how cool that was. Cause I'm like, it meant a lot, but at the same time, it shows like, golly, y'all were really thinking I was down for years. It's like when you're texting me, you're like, hey, look at you. You finally know what it's like to win. It's nice, isn't it? But that was the cool thing is just, yeah, like you said, everybody was watching it. Everybody was paying attention and everybody really just loved. I think a lot of people, because everyone hates Texas. So it's like, I think a lot of people were rooting for Arkansas. They're rooting for Sam Pittman. And everyone knew Texas was joining the SEC because it was kind of like, yeah, in your face, Texas. It's what you better get ready for every year. And then the first year they get in here, they, take care of business. But still, just a lot was surrounding that. And it was, I'm not going to say it was the last time that it felt good in football because I think Tennessee felt pretty good this past year. But that was certainly one that was a long time coming and it was perfectly timed because it was against Texas.
Also, Arkansas had so this is an important part that I just feel like I need to point out. I pulled it up. By the way, this game was on 9/11. If y'all don't remember that, I didn't remember that, but it was. Arkansas had 471 yards of offense, 333 yards rushing. Ran it 7 yards a clip. They ran it at 7 yards a clip. They threw it 7 yards a clip. Tyson Morris had a big catch in that game. That was like the only big pass play. But like Arkansas just leaned on them. Those are the best wins. Like LSU 2007, that was my favorite part is they ran for 500 yards. It's like that when you run 500 on someone, they cannot stop you. What is that Nick Saban quote? Where he's like, they ran through our ass like shit through a tin or whatever, and we could not. Like that is the epitome of that. Those wins are so satisfying because it's like emasculating. Like it just feels good. You really get to look down on that fan base of like, look, we could have played that game 100 times and we win that game 100 times. That's what made it so cool is how dominating it was.
It was like everybody who got a carry had a touchdown. It was crazy. I mean, like at the very end of the game, it's like, oh, AJ Green, you got cleared from a concussion yesterday. Here you go score. It was just dominance, man. It was that was really, really cool. And honestly, that was a fun year all around for the football program. That was, man, dang.
You know,
we were onto something, didn't we?
Traylon Burks had I think he had like 50 yards or something like that in that game. Like he really didn't do much in the Texas game. Again, Arkansas ran the ball a lot, but that was big time stuff.
Yeah, I think also too. I'm laughed because they started Hudson Card, and like looking back, I was like, that was the wrong move. You shouldn't have started him. But the play that because I honestly did not still. It was kind of reminded me of that Arkansas Tennessee game this past year. Because if you guys remember, like Arkansas did not. They had so many opportunities going into halftime where you felt like, man, Arkansas should be up 28-0. But it's like they kept getting little field goals here and there, and they still had a lead. But I remember the time where I actually felt like, hey, they may win. Was when that Hudson Card got the ball hit from his hand and he fumbled it. They reviewed it. Arkansas got it back in the very first play. They hand off a misdirection to Rocket Sanders and he runs it in from 35 yards out, and the place was just bedlam. I mean, it was insane. So
who was the running back for Texas? It was really good.
Bijan Robinson.
Bijan, that's right.
Who's like fantasy RB3 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good, again, fun time. That was a fun year for all athletics, just because you had that, you had, Razorback basketball going to an Elite Eight, you had baseball going to the World Series in 2022. It was, man, that was fun. I miss those days. Wish you could come back.
Times.
Yeah, great times. Either way. All right, let's go ahead and get to your chat, folks. Do a little vibe check presented by our friends over at Basis Health, where they're changing the way healthcare is delivered by providing mobile medical visits to the comfort of your very own home, so you don't have to worry about waiting in a doctor's office. You can get it done by just hanging out at your house, and it's urgent care, it's primary care, IV hydration, so much more. I mean, they offer so many different things, and you can find out all the great things that they have to offer over at basishealth.org and get you set up and get you on top of it and on part of it and be able to live your life a little bit easier there. It's Basis Health. They are here for you when and where you need them the most. All right, so getting into the chat here, I wanted to address this one just right off the bat because we were talking about this game, and George says, what's funny about that 2021 season was that most of the key players on that team were there because of Chad Morris recruiting. And it's like, okay, yes, there was a lot of them there. And I don't know if you're trying to make this as a slide to Pittman, but here's the thing that you got to remember too, folks. Like, Rocket Sanders was there under Sam Pittman. That was a player that they added. You got to think about, I know it was the year before, but when they added Felipe Franks, that was a really solid player. And I feel like that helped KJ Jefferson get him ready for the next year. That was because of him. If you think about the coordinators that he had hired, like Odom and Kendall Briles, that was because of Sam Pittman. So not to say that like, oh, well, the success there of the players, it was all Chad Morris's people. It's like, yeah, well, what do you want them to do? Like, hey, Traylon Burks, sorry, you're a Chad Morris player. You got to move on. I don't want you here. Again, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I feel like you can hate on Sam Pittman, you can talk a lot of stuff about him, but I don't feel like this is something that you can really hold over his head because of that year. I just don't see that being the case.
Yeah, and I mean, what are we giving John Calipari so much credit for right now? It's retention.
That's right.
He had to keep those guys. They all could have hit the portal, and they didn't. And then they developed and were big impact pieces. And then they also took advantage of the because a lot of people are like, well, it's just because of the super senior thing with COVID and all that. And it's like, but they could have left. They could have, tried to go pro. They could have gone in the transfer portal or whatever. But you were able to instill enough belief in the program and what you were building, everything you were doing, to get those, the Grant Morgans of the world and everybody else back to contribute. So there was a situation put in front of them. And they took advantage of it, and not everybody did that. So no, I'm with you, man. I think credit where credit is due, and yeah, I mean, I'll give. God, am I really going to say I am? I'll give Chad Morris credit for getting some of those guys on campus, but you got to give Pittman a lot of credit for keeping them there, and then for that staff and bringing the best out of a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple concept. Like, if you have good players, Sam Pittman can give you a pretty good team. And Arkansas had good players that year, a lot of which came from Chad Morris. Over the years, they've had good players here and there, and they had Landon Jackson, Taslaw drafted this past year. Like they always have their fair share of good players. That's kind of been the thing with Sam Pittman. Like that's the concept we all understand is like, yeah, if you put good pieces around him and you kind of make it work from a roster standpoint, yeah, he'll have a pretty good team. If it's a below average talent team, he's not going to be able to elevate them. And that's kind of what we're seeing play out. Like, I feel like at this point, we've got just a pretty big sample size that like Sam Pittman can do well under some circumstances, but like, that's how every coach, like it makes sense. And so I don't really look back at that as like a gotcha, especially because like, look, I mean, I think at that point in time, Sam Pittman was the right guy for the head coaching job at the University of Arkansas, like without a doubt. The fact that they went 9-4 is absolutely true. Since then, circumstances have changed. Our opinion of Sam Pittman has changed. Like we don't have to go back in time and be like, no, actually Sam was bad then because he's bad now. It's like, well, no, circumstances have changed.
Yep.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I have a new soundboard, so I can't play the normal sound, but shout out to our guy Logan.
Yeah,
that's all I got. But appreciate you, Logan. Thank you for the super chat. And of course, as always, and he says best in the business. That's a nice thing to say about Sam Pittman, Logan. I appreciate that. He's going to appreciate that too. Saying calling in the best.
Needed that dub.
Yeah. So
we'll go ahead and send that over to the Arkansas Edge, and they'll send you your pin for your contribution. So thank you for that, buddy. You're a good man.
Yeah, it's going a long way towards recovering all that money that you lost in those buyouts. So they're going to be appreciated there. But no, for real, Logan, we love you.
I need to see Logan again soon.
Yeah,
we need a hang.
Yeah,
with Logan.
I've been trying to get him up here for a game or something like that. But yeah, he's like too busy being stupid and working and stuff. So whatever.
He does that? Yeah,
he'll be here for postseason baseball, I bet.
Yeah, he better be, or else he's going to have to hear from it from us. Let's see. Also, Addison says cancel Curtis for giving Chad Morris credit. True.
I almost canceled myself before I said it.
Dude, that dude can recruit, bro. That 2019 class Arkansas had was nasty.
It was good.
That might have been the best class in school history, bro. Like it really was one of them. Like dead serious. Now we all understand he wouldn't have been able to coach that talent successfully. Like those two things can be true. Like it wouldn't have mattered. But that class was nasty, and it certainly gave Pittman the kickstart he needed to his tenure, which he is still kind of like riding off of, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. And also, I was trying to think. Yeah, every player is no longer playing college football that was from that class, right? There's nobody like KJ Jefferson's done, so like he's gone. Okay, just want to make sure I wasn't missing any players that are still around, part of that class, because it felt like a lot of them just stayed and never left. Okay, let's see. Also, where'd it go? Yeah. So John Sullivan says Texas Bowl when they had less than 100 total yards. Yeah, 2014, I believe Texas Bowl was what's he referring to? So
yeah, that was a very good one. That was Brandon Allen MVP of that game. Also, they had like a strip sack in the end zone. My dad had to separate a fight between Arkansas and Texas fans at that game. That was pretty cool.
Yes.
Well, why did he separate it?
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. The Arkansas fan was being the mean one, was being the instigator, and was the more drunk one and was causing problems. And my dad had to kind of step in and be like, yo, man, I'm a pig, but like, relax. And I mean, I think he just felt bad for, and, Texas fans suck, but like this one guy, he was just like standing in line trying to get some nachos,
I'll give a lot of super chats to one of you if you can name one of the wide receiver. I think it was the lone wide receiver that caught Razorback touchdown pass from Brandon Allen that year or in that game.
Demetrius Wilson.
There you go. Yep, Demetrius Wilson.
Number 85, bro, had a little number switch. Dude, you were not about to sneak Demetrius Wilson. Although Keon Hatcher caught a touchdown in that game as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he did. I think he did too. Yeah, because I couldn't remember if it was the only one. I felt like, and it may not have been Demetrius Wilson's only touchdown catch, but it felt like it was. It was like, oh yeah, that guy. He's out there playing. So let's see. Also, Finch just wants to say that's it. The baby's name is going to be Kurt for Curtis's baby's Lawson Flex Wilkerson. So there you go.
I mean, I'm in for that. That's up there. It's probably in the top 5 of the suggestions that we've had so far. And Lawson Blake is he's an impeccable human being. So I would be honored if my child took his name.
I think that'd be cool. And also, like, one, I love the name Lawson. Like, I think that's a good name.
It's a good name.
I also think it'd be funny the next time you bump into Lawson Blake, wherever the hell that's going to be, like at a Taco and Tamale in 2.5 years or something, you can be like, dude, my son's named Lawson.
Just want you to know.
Yeah. Like it's not direct cause and effect, but if you didn't exist, I probably wouldn't have a son named Lawson.
It's because you told them boys, welcome to the SEC, that this happened. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Does Lawson Blake have a deeper voice than Trevor Brazil? Both
He's
pretty
the only
deep.
one that rivals it.
Yeah, he's close.
Yeah. May have to. I'm sure that's something that they really want to, discuss and grade out. And we can put a poll question in the summertime. Who has the deepest voice?
By the way, I guess we should have pointed out, we were talking about the 2014 Texas Bowl. It was the borderline erotic game, which Bielema dropped that at media days the next year to kneel when you're at your opponent's 2-yard line. I mean, just it's very fulfilling for me.
That dude had sex on the mind all the time, man. Between that and the hopping on the wife thing after the Ole Miss game, and like, I'm hopping on the plane. Can't believe I just said that. I'm like, all right, man, dude.
Good on him.
Yeah, dude need to be bonked with the horny bat there with the Sheba, man.
Being Brett Bielema. What do you think the chances are that we could get Brett Bielema on the show on like just a random July 12th?
It's gonna have to be one of y'all because I don't think he likes me too much.
I'll send an email to the Illinois SID and I'll be like, hey, we got the show in Arkansas. No, they're not.
But
right away, they're gonna be like, no.
The SID there's Patrick Pearson, who was the SID at Arkansas during the time.
So we might have a chance.
Yeah,
we might have a chance.
Shoot the shot, man.
Give Barry Linney a call.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, who cares? It's summertime. No, just throw some stuff against the wall.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, let's get BM on here. Let's see. Also, Hickory Hog says, heard Coach Z talking to Chuck Martin say something about TB at the 3 and his eyes lit up. How we feel about a lineup of Acup, Knox, TB, Pringle, and Ewan. I like it.
If two things. One, if this coaching staff tries the Trevor Brazil at the 3 experiment after Eric Musselman's failed experiment of doing it, I'm going to lose my damn mind. You found what works for this young man. Don't mess with it. And 2, Trevor Brazil is the only 4 on your roster. He's the only one. Don't do that. Yeah, no, I haven't listened to that. Hickory Hog, I'm glad you brought it up because now I'm going to go. It's probably the Razorback Daily or whatever. I'm going to have to go listen to that and just see if there's any subliminal, I got to read the facial expressions and everything. Do not do that. Please. I am begging you. Let Trevor Brazil be a stretch 4 right where he belongs. Do not put that man as a wing. Don't do it.
That was my least favorite part of Muss's last season at Arkansas is they had Trevor Brazil out on the wing, man. I'm just like, nah, he's dead. I just don't like that. And they were like, yeah, we're trying to challenge him, make him develop his guard skills. I'm like, I just don't think that's it.
I don't understand.
Yeah,
coaches.
I'd rather you go the other way and play him at the 5. And I've said that for years.
Yeah.
I would much rather you play him at the 5 with Pringle or whoever the hell. Like, I really don't care.
Yeah. I don't understand coaches in general. Like that would be, I'm not a coach, so maybe I'm crazy here, but it's like, if I have a player that's really solid and good and does a certain thing really well, I don't look at him, even if I have weaknesses otherwhere, be like, okay, well, we're just going to move you and do something different for you. It's like, no, if he's good, utilize that. Utilize how great he is. Mm-hmm. Same thing like on the offensive line where it's like with Carmona, it's like, we're going to move him to center. Why? He's doing great. He's like solid tackle. Why we even risk that? I just don't understand coaches sometimes, and even people, fans who are like, hey, they should do this, move that. No, Brazil's fine. Like you saw what he did at the end of last year. Don't screw with that. Let him continue to be good at that instead of just getting crazy with it. I don't get it.
Yes, when your own head coach says that, like his biggest battle is within himself, like it's between the ears. Don't tell him he's a guard. don't do that. Because what do you want from him? The whole thing at the beginning of the year. Remember the whole bit about being an attack dog? He finally became one. Don't mess with that and tell him to float around on the perimeter, bro. I can't deal with this. It's
put me 10 pounds to him and get him in the gym with Kenny Payne. All those drop steps we did. We're just gonna throw those away. We're gonna throw those away for a step back. We're gonna step. We're all the post work we done put in. We're just
tomorrow's episode of the Pod of the Palace. We're gonna just that just got added to the talking.
I love how this guy could have just completely made up the chat.
I got to go listen to see if it's real. I don't think Hickory Hog would lie to us, but
yeah, no, he's reliable.
Yeah. Let's see a few other chats before we continue to move on. Also, Trey wants to know, when will we find out who gets invited to the NBA draft combine?
Like, very, very soon. I would imagine between now and through the weekend, because it begins on the 11th. That's the NBA draft combine. So, or is that both of them? I'd have to go look, because I know they do the little G League combine for like the next tier of guys, and whoever performs well in that gets moved. You know, like 5 or 6 guys will get called up to the main one. I don't know if that happens before, if that just all starts on the 11th. I need to go look, but either way, like the calendar flips to May tomorrow. Those invites are going to start trickling out here very, very soon within the next few days.
There you go. A few more here. Let's see. Dakota says, everyone subscribe. We're almost at 10K. Yeah, we are. We're almost at 10,000. So yeah, hit that subscribe button for us if you haven't subscribed already.
I feel about subscriber numbers and milestones the way I do birthdays at this point in my life. Like certain ones don't matter. It's like, oh, you hit, 8,500. That's cool. Or 9,000. It's like, all right, I'm, 36 years old. Big deal. 10K. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Like that's
So we're at 9,907 right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Come on now.
All Arkansas needs to do is go out there and sweep Texas.
We're in there.
We'll get
let
some
us
people
down.
who have never heard of baseball before. They're like, you know what? I like this.
Yeah.
Don't let us down,
Let me
Dave.
search YouTube for a channel.
Don't let us
If they
down,
get
Dave. We better
swept,
do
we're
it.
going to fall back below 9,900. Just
That's gonna be tough.
Yeah. That's what I always hate is anytime that like something like that happens, there's always that jerk like, oh, wouldn't it be funny? I'm unsubscribed so that way you don't have it anymore. I'm like, shut up, stop.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Well, it's tough is when Arkansas has a loss bad enough to where someone has to make a decision where they're like, Arkansas is bad for my health.
Yes.
I have to cut myself off from this addiction. And that's probably if you're going to do that, you probably unsubscribe from us.
That's right. That's right. All right, a few more
I
here.
need to say something real quick before
What's
we
up?
move to a different chat. I said Trevin Brazil is the only 4 on the roster. He's not the only 4 on the roster, but I bring this up to say, because we've written Kareem Rattel off in terms of the rotation, and I'm still doing that. Like I don't believe if Arkansas is going to be a Final Four type of contender that he as a freshman needs to be a dude that's playing big rotation minutes for you. However, I watched a lot of film on that young man last night, and I've had conversations with multiple international scouts who are like, I don't know about him in the SEC, man. Probably not going to be a thing. I think he's better than he's being given credit for. And I went beyond the highlights and actually went and watched, got into the weeds, man, dark web stuff to watch this kid play. And there's something there. I'm not saying that he's going to be a dude for him this year. Don't get it twisted. They need to go out. They need to get a backup 4 or whatever. I believe that, but he's not a bum. The dude can play. There's something there. And I wanted to give credit where it's due because I went and watched with my own eyes and I believe that to be true.
Were you watching like YouTube streams of like the games from whatever league he was playing in, like streaming them on YouTube?
Yeah, and the league, I mean, it's not as great as some of the places where these guys who are coming over are playing. Like Illinois' entire roster comes from that Adriatic League, which is really good. It's not that good. It's better than I thought. Like it's a more legitimate league than I thought it was. And he's got a lot that he needs to work on, but there's something there with him.
Okay, yeah, real quick before we'll move on because we got to get to who our heavy hitters are, but also wanted to bring this up from Chakotay. Said, Curtis, I've been putting together the crib and dresser and my back killed me. Who knew dressers had so many damn parts? So I guess he was relating to your messaging before at the beginning of the show about hurting from putting stuff together like that.
It's crazy. I gotta start stretching, and yeah, you hit a certain point in life where you just can't do the things you used to do, Yep. And I got to take my body into maintenance mode. I'm in body management. Like I'm out indefinitely in body management. So,
Well, there you have it. And I tell you what, we're not going to be using you for our heavy hitters then because you don't do any heavy lifting, but that's okay because heavy hitters, of course, here on Inside Arkansas is presented by our friends over at HD Roofing and Construction. Storms can hit unexpectedly, sometimes expectedly. I mean, the storms the past few days here in the state of Arkansas have been wild. I think everyone's about tired of them. And you got some instances where it could happen again the rest of the week. So if you have a roof that needs inspecting before all that happens, give HD Roofing a call at 0429 because they are going to get you that free inspection, and they're going to make sure that you can rely on their professionalism, their top quality materials, their expert installation, and everything when it comes to your roofing needs. So if you need that roof inspected, need to make sure that's good because a roof is very important on a house. Last time I checked, give them a call today again at 501-428-0429, and also check out their website at hdarkansas.com. Okay, my heavy hitter, guys. I was going to play this clip, but it's too long, and I'll just if you had a chance to see it. But my heavy hitter was Giannis from last night.
Wow.
Yep, because
it was really good.
It was a clip that again, if you haven't seen it, watch it. But for those of you who don't watch the NBA, which I know a lot of you don't, it was an absolutely blown game there by the Bucks at the end. I mean, just insane against the Pacers. And, they ended up winning the series because of the great comeback that they had. And Giannis is on the court, and there is Tyrese Halliburton's dad comes on the court with holding like a flag or shirt or whatever, and just kind of starts yelling over at Giannis, kind of in his face type thing. Like, hey, in your face is what we do, stuff like that. And Giannis just kind of sat there. And then he finally just kind of went up to him and started talking. They kind of had some heat, got into an altercation, all that happened and whatever. But after the game, Giannis was asked about it, and he was just talking about how he's someone that's going to be humble in his victory. He's like, I wouldn't have done that. And, I know it's his dad. And he said he even liked Tyrese Halliburton and all that. But anyways, it was just a really, really terrible kind of timing and situation for that. I don't know why the dad was on the court in the first place. I don't know how all that works. But still, just for him to handle it that way and speaking on that, it was about a 4-minute clip. So go and watch it when he talks about winning in humility. He's like, I've won a title. They haven't. This is the game we play. It's highly competitive. But to have somebody like that in that moment come up to you and do those things, it's like he just wasn't standing for it. So anyways, my heavy hitter is Giannis because he handled it with class, handled it with humility, and handled it a lot better than I feel like a lot of people would have in that situation. And I don't know. We got to start figuring out how to not have those things happen. I know it's tough because it's all craziness, but that was just a bad look for everybody involved. And I feel almost bad for Tyrese Halliburton because he even said, he's like, yeah, my dad was in the wrong on that. Like, he was being bad there.
He looked like a clown in the clip, dude. I mean, he looked like an absolute ass clown. It
was just so stupid. And I couldn't imagine and this is just from my perspective. I know he's won a title already, so Giannis is, getting there, but I couldn't imagine where it's like my season that I just played 80 plus games and we get to the playoff. My season's over and we blew it right there. And in the exact moment that I'm trying to process all this, I got this guy coming on the court with a shirt yelling at me like, that's what we do, blah, blah, like not going and celebrating with the team and the players, coming to me. Like, I think I would have lost it. I think I would have lost it if somebody did that to me. And that in that moment, because emotions are running so high. But either way, I appreciate Giannis. And, he did get in the guy's face a little bit, but he was just trying to tell him what's up. He's my heavy hitter. He's a great dude. I root for the guy. He talks really nice. It's kind of fun to hear him talk. But yeah, he's my heavy hitter for today.
I don't know how nice he was talking when he pulled Ben Mathurin up close and was, I don't think he was whispering sweet nothings into his ear to get him all pissed off there. But I do agree. I thought he, that could have gotten ugly, that situation, and he handled it well. It also just shows you how big that man is. When he stand up there by Halliburton's dad, I was just like, holy, there's one thing I'll say about Papa Halliburton. He's got some balls because I would not be talking to a man that size like that. That was insane. But it is interesting that you said what you said there, John, because my heavy hitter was going to be Tyrese Halliburton. And the reason why is because honestly, he was recently voted like the most overrated player in the league by his peers, by the people that he competes with. And that just sucks. Like, you don't want that. But he goes out last night, eliminates Giannis and Bobby Portis and the Bucks. He had 26 points, 10 assists. He hit the game winner with just over a second left. That's crazy, and it was all part of that big comeback. And then I thought he was really good on the podium too. Basically, by what you said, he kind of called his pops out there and was like, hey, that's not cool. I think he was in the wrong. It's just natural instinct to take up for the family in that situation. But I thought he handled that well. And then I love that he went on Twitter afterwards and put out overrate that, to all of his haters after he did what he did. I thought it was electric, and he has more of a fan in me now than he did before. So crazy that we had guys from opposite teams in a game like that. And both of them have, I think, really good cases to be a heavy hitter.
Yeah. I like that. I got to be honest, dude. I was I was thinking about I didn't know what y'all were gonna go with y'all's heavy hitter. I was thinking about making Giannis, but then I was like, oh, I don't know if it's a long clip. I didn't know if I could explain it as well as John did. I was also considering going with Jamal Murray, who had his 6th 40-point game of his playoff career. He's a Cal guy, so shout out to Cal. This is a John Calipari segment here. This is presented to you by Cal, but Jamal Murray's he's a good NBA player. I mean, he's averaged over 20 points a game. I think he's averaged as high as 25 in some years. He's an NBA champion. He's been the number 2 option in Denver during this whole run. But in the regular season, he's not like a top 10, top 15 player, at all. He's not even an all NBA level player. But then in the playoffs, he's just a killer, dude. He has more 40-point games than Jokic. He has more 40-point games in his playoff career than Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, Kawhi Leonard, Nikola Jokic, Melo, McGrady, Magic, Duncan, like a vast majority. He just is a dude who's had some of the biggest games we've ever seen. I remember in the bubble back in the day, he had a couple 50-point games. It's kind of funny that just this time of year, you get into the playoffs and everybody had the Clippers beating the Nuggets because they have a fired coach. They thought they were kind of trending in a bad direction. The Nuggets took a 3-2 lead and looks like they're gonna move on. And unfortunately, does not look like the Lakers or the Rockets will be moving on.
Well, I'm okay with the Rockets not moving on, but again, there's been a lot of fights that have been breaking out in the NBA in the playoffs, man. Just a lot of skirmishes, a lot of a lot of stuff like that too. And I don't know. I really hate Draymond Green, and I felt like he should have been ejected the other night. But that's just me. I mean, that's just how it is. But I understand a lot of people don't watch the NBA or the NBA playoffs, but they've been pretty entertaining. A lot of them have. But then there's been some of them that just been 50-point skunkings. It's just weird. It's how in the world does that happen? It's been pretty nasty, pretty gnarly out there. So,
hey, y'all want to hear something cool?
Always.
Literally at this exact time, 24 hours from now, we're going to be in the middle of Inside Arkansas Live. And Garrett from HD Roofing and Construction is going to be on my roof, giving me that inspection.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah,
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Was that timed that way? I mean, is that?
Well, we gotta time it based on the weather forecast, so it is subject to change. I can't have him on my roof getting struck by lightning. That's bad for me.
It'll be tough.
That inspection is no longer free if that happens. So we need to we got to keep that in mind here. But yeah, he's coming to give us a look, and I'm anxious to see what this is going to look like after. I mean, it's been 5 days in the last 2 weeks where we've had hell in summer, right? It's absolutely insane, man. It's storming every other day. It's just gross out.
No,
see what the old roof looks like.
I hate it. I hate it for this weekend for Razorback baseball because I'm for crying out loud, can we have a decent weathered weekend? Because I feel like almost every other weekend when Arkansas is away from Fayetteville, it's a nice weekend. But, the A&M weather was crappy. The Missouri weather for sure was disgusting. So, yeah, I hope that's the case. But we'll make sure, let us know when he gets there and is doing it. So that way we time out our heavy hitter segment for him while he's up there and everything. So that's pretty cool, though. I'm looking forward to it because I know we're going to see him and see a lot of other people this weekend when it comes to some of our great partners and sponsorships and everything, too. But yeah, he asked me if I need to inspect my roof. I was like, man, I would love for you to inspect my roof, but I don't own this place, so that's not my call. But I can give you the number of my landlord, and maybe they can have you hook it up. So, but yeah, we appreciate Garrett and appreciate HD Roofing for making it possible and being a part of it each and every day here in Inside Arkansas. So, there you have it. There are our heavy hitters, and we got just a couple segments. Of course, Brandon Marcello is going to be joining us in the show as we'll give the latest updates on everything going on with the NIL and the collective and all that. And we're going to use that as part of our Arkansas update here on the show. But we can go ahead and get into our Hump Day storylines presented by our friends at BetSaracen, the #1 sports betting app in the state of Arkansas. You can go to BetSaracen.com, get the betting that way. You can also download the app on the iPhone or on the Android and check it out that way too. Plenty of things going on, whether it's the NBA playoffs, Razorback baseball, college baseball in general, all the sporting events that's going on. It's the #1 sports betting app in the state of Arkansas. Not even close. Don't download any of the other ones because they are nothing compared to what BetSaracen is going to give you. But we'll get some headlines. There was some chats, though, too, that we wanted to get to as well. Here on some of them are ridiculous, but that's okay. Scooby Doobies, which I love the name, said, is this the least excited the fan base has been for an upcoming football season? Only speaking for myself, yes. Yes. To me, this has been the least excited that the fan base has been here at Arkansas that I can remember for an upcoming football season.
Maybe so, man. I mean, I'm trying to think back here. Because even year 2 of the Chad Morris era, I think people still thought it's definitely going to be better than this.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't. So I don't know, man.
It has to be.
Yeah, I mean, we just always have had at least some delusion in there. And here's what it is. I just see less delusional optimists, but those guys will show up in fall camp. We will get there. And so who knows? It's tough to tell this time of year because there's just not a ton of college football talk right now.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not. And I think it's like that for a lot of other places, but just speaking again from experience, that's what it looks like for Arkansas right now. What's up, Curtis?
I just feel like I should probably read this. Did you guys see that the University of North Carolina put out a statement from Bill Belichick?
Okay, I saw it. I saw it. I didn't read it though.
I'm gonna read it real quick. So you guys also, I mean, at this point, you're all aware of the very awkward CBS interview with him and his lady friend or whatever. So this is from the News from Carolina Office of University Communications. Quote from University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill head coach Bill Belichick says, I agreed to speak with CBS Sunday morning to promote my new book, The Art of Winning, Lessons from My Life in Football. Prior to this interview, I clearly communicated with my publicist at Simon & Schuster that any promotional interviews I participated in would agree to focus solely on the contents of the book. Unfortunately, that expectation was not honored during the interview. I was surprised when unrelated topics were introduced, and I repeatedly expressed to the reporter, Tony DeCopiel, and the producers that I preferred to keep the conversation centered on the book. After this occurred several times, Jordan, his lady friend, with whom I share both a personal and professional relationship, stepped in to reiterate that point to help refocus the discussion. She was not deflecting any specific question or topic, but simply doing her job to ensure the interview stayed on track. Some of the clips made it appear as though we were avoiding the question of how we met, but we have been open about the fact that Jordan and I met on a flight to Palm Beach in 2021. Congrats on the Mile High Club. The final 8-minute segment does not reflect the productive 35-minute conversation we had, which covered a wide range of topics related to my career. Instead, it presents selectively edited clips and stills from just a few moments of the interview to suggest a false narrative that Jordan was attempting to control the conversation, which is simply not true. This is a clown show, boys.
This is wild stuff that like the university felt the need, and Bill Belichick, I'm sure he didn't really feel the need, but they felt the need to comment on this. Like this is bizarre and just weird.
This is crazy, man.
Like and honestly, I really didn't think that negatively until you put out a statement. Now I'm like, okay, good Lord. Like the clip was bad, but like I feel like you wouldn't put out a statement unless you just knew like how weird this was.
Yeah. Well, first off, I love that the graphic, it's like the official like headline or header up here of like, hey, here's the contact information in case you want to contact the Office of University Communications at North Carolina, as if it's that. But then, yeah, this whole thing, it's like, I understand that there's probably that maybe that was, hey, we're just focusing in on the book and everything. But I do believe that there was probably better ways to approach it than just as soon as someone asks a question, hey, how'd y'all meet? A very simple question that you just come out like you are just pissed at the world, be like, we are not talking about this. No. That's going to give the vibe of like, okay, well, you're hiding something there. That's something you don't want to ask for a reason. And so, yeah, the fact that you're having the university put out a statement for this 73-year-old man and his girlfriend for an interview with CBS Sports cracks me up, dude. Like, if you're a North Carolina football fan, like, what are you thinking right now? Do you care? I mean,
you probably are okay with the attention, honestly, deep down. Do we know what her job title is at North Carolina? Because she is. They did create some fake position for her,
director of culture or whatever it is for like Matthew McConaughey. I don't know.
Thing that the same role that Caleb Presley had whenever he was at North Carolina.
Pretty much. And I just saw what they were calling her over there, but now I don't know. But yeah, you're right. She does have a title. So
yeah, she has a title, and it's
gosh, man, that is just nuts.
What a league, what a sport, man. The fact that we get something like that in there is just outstanding. So that's good. Love that. A few other chats here too, because we'll have Brand Marcello joining us. I was trying to real quick before we move on. If that was at Arkansas, how would we be feeling about this? Like if Arkansas had hired Bill Belichick And like this was going to be his first year, kind of like with North Carolina, and all this was going down. Like, would we be laughing at it? Would we be like, this is horrible? This has to stop? Like, what would our reactions be? Like,
I mean, I would just be loving it because it would be golden for content for us.
sure.
I mean, this would be amazing for the future of the success of the football program. I don't know about that one, buddy. Man,
Can I level with you guys real quick?
Yeah.
I would be like full on their side on everything. I'd be like shameful that CBS and their fake news outlet, were framing all this stuff. And it's crazy. They're trying to paint Bill and his lovely, lovely girlfriend out as a villain. I really would be full on defending them to the death.
That's
I respect
fair.
that take. Yeah.
Yeah. At least you're honest about it. And I would probably be like, hey, everybody, just relax. It's not that big of a deal. Okay. I mean, she's a wonderful woman. All right. She's needed. Like, they had interviews with everybody, about this position, which I guess you can't sue it because it was the whole Bobby Petrino thing. It's like they made up a position for her instead of like, having a job, and they just gave it to her because they didn't interview anybody else, So either way, could be a lot worse. I don't know. It's funny though. I'm glad it's happening somewhere else though.
Yeah.
So somewhere else at North Carolina. All right. A few chats here real quick. Heartbroken Hawk says, when is this members only stream? We'll let you know. Got some things in the works. We're going to do some fun stuff like that here in the summertime, especially when things tend to slow down a little bit, and we're going to have some fun and get creative with things and do some trips and whatnot, but we'll let you know. We'll keep you updated on that. Let's see. Also, Finch says the Inside Arkansas fellas got them fresh looks today. John and Curtis looking freshly trimmed up, and Andrew's curly locks curling today. It's a great day.
I like that.
Thank
I like
you.
that a lot.
Yeah. Man, I tell you what, we can always rely on y'all in the chat to make sure that you point out anything in our physical appearance that is either good or bad or has changed. You guys are on it.
We're cool with that though.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it, just as long as you're like if we're having a conversation, you come right in and you'll be like, oh my God, you're ugly. This is so stupid. You look like a moron. It's like it's like, oh, what'd you do to your face? Did you run into a wall? Like, okay, just stay back and relax. Hey, we got a guy Trey in here. He's like, hey, Inside Arkansas in the chat, who is y'all's favorite rock band? Mine is Nickelback. My favorite Nickelback song is How You Remind Me.
That's a good song.
Yeah,
I love Nickelback as well.
One.
Sure, man. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Go Nickelback.
I feel like Weezer's in my top 3. I love Weezer. I don't know if Third Eye Blind is my favorite, but after seeing them, like I really like them a lot. I don't know. What y'all have a favorite rock band?
Michelle, when we were in St. Louis, we saw Third Eye Blind and we saw Three Doors Down, and those were both a lot of fun.
Yeah, those are
Three
good
Doors
ones.
Down was
I don't know.
crazy back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like a favorite or whatever, but
honestly,
I really enjoyed them in concert.
If I'm going favorite as in just like timeless ones I still like would listen to and one I'd still in concert and all that, man, I love Matchbox 20. Like I really am a fan of Matchbox 20. And Rob Thomas is great. And just thinking about how many great songs that they had, and I don't think they've made any recent music, but even if they have, it's like, dude, they were putting out some 3 or 4 straight great albums, and some really like 3 a.m. always gets me in my feels every time I hear it. So
Andrew had some Matchbox 20 on the playlist on the drive back to from Kansas City home. Yeah.
No, I've got some Matchbox 20. My brother used to put me on, and also like all my older siblings have shaped my my music a little bit. Although I will say, a band I've gotten into as I've gotten older is Rush. Love Rush. Are they still kicking? Do they still do stuff?
No.
I have no idea.
Red Hot Chili Peppers. Are y'all big? John, you feel like you strike me as like a massive Red Hot Chili Peppers guy.
I like them, but I also was not one of those people that was things will turn me off if people are just obsessive of them. Kind of like the Taylor Swift thing where it's just like, okay, chill. Like you can like them, but then when Third Eye Blind, I feel like everyone was buying those stickers and putting them on the back of their windows. Like, hey, look, I'm really cool because I like Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's like, okay, can't you just like their music and be all right with it? But point is, I like them, but I'm not like diehard fan of them. So they're not too bad. I'm also a Limp Bizkit fan. I'm just gonna throw it out there, but
that's I had to convince my dad to buy me chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavored water at Hastings when that was still a thing.
Dude, love that stuff. Also, too, real quick before we move on this, I don't know. I I guess it's a rock band. I don't know what type of music it would be, but if you're talking about my all-time favorite, I mean, I love Matchbox 20, but Rage Against the Machine is probably my all-time one.
Like that, yeah.
I loved all their albums. I think I still have like the CDs of the Battle for Los Angeles and Renegades and all of that. So that's another good one that I really liked. Let's see. And then David just wants to know, what's your go-to karaoke song? Do you guys sing karaoke? Have you ever sang karaoke?
I've done it a couple times, but not enough to say I have a go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't have a go-to. I don't do karaoke a ton. I was thinking about it the other day. The song came on in the car, and I was like, you know what? Next time I do karaoke, I think I'm doing it. Amarillo Sky, Jason Aldean. I think that's going to be my next one. And I think about this often, actually, of like, if I get put in a spot where I have to do karaoke, what am I going to do? The Joker Steve Miller Band is what I'll do if I'm like really like drunk, then like worried, because like Amarillo Sky, you actually got to have a little range for that. The Joker don't need much range. That's one I can half-ass.
Gotcha. Yeah, that'll work.
My next karaoke experience is going to be a duet with John Neighbors.
What are you gonna sing?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, you got
it. Stream maybe.
We'll see.
Anything with Justin Timberlake, I can sing. So there you got that.
Yeah, let's go, man.
Yeah. It's like you could be T.I. and I'll be Justin Timberlake from the song I Love.
Yeah. Okay. It's settled, actually.
Jeez.
See you soon, SEC Media Day.
Gosh, yeah. Yeah, because SEC Media Days does the karaoke thing, and I don't know what it is. Here's the thing: is if it's my go-to, real quick, I've only done it twice, but that's why it's my go-to, because I've done this song more than others, which is just twice. But "Rolling in the Deep" by Adele, that's my go-to one.
That's a tough one.
I'm not fooling with that.
Yeah, which is why I do it.
That's a tough vocal assignment, is what it is.
Yeah, and trust me, I know, and trust me, it shows when I'm out there trying to sing it. But that's my thing, is like you don't want to be the person that's really great at it, but you also don't want to sound so awful that it's hurting people's ears. It's like
it's got to be like entertaining.
Yeah,
play a song that everyone knows.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you have to have a song that people are going to sing along to. You can't just do some song like Will Ferrell sung at the end of Step Brothers, like a song that nobody knows. But even if you're impressive, people are kind of like they want to sing along. That's what people want in karaoke. So you got to go with like just the bare minimum. Friends in Low Places, like one that you just know 5 or 6 people are going to sing word for word.
Yeah. And also, don't sing like "The Sound of Silence" by Simon and Garfunkel. Don't do stuff like that. Just like, you may love the song, you may love singing the song, but just there's nothing that'll just turn the mood down than singing some depressing song like that. So,
dude, I had a buddy one time that we were in Gulf Shores and sang "Hurt" by Johnny Cash, I believe is the name of the song, and just absolutely stunk it up, and like kind of on purpose. I mean, that song. It's hard not to stink it up. And just completely killed the vibes of the karaoke joint and then dipped.
That sounds about right. That's the only way it'd be funny is if someone did something like that. So, oh geez. All right, a few more comments here too. Actually, where is it? Where'd it go? Trying to see. I always try to star something, and then I end up forgetting it, and then I have to go through the cesspool of nonsense here. Oh yeah, our guy Garrett. He said the weather for tomorrow afternoon and night actually looks pretty good. Sunny and 75 in Baum Walker at first pitch. Yeah, and also Saturday's game looks perfect. I mean, I think it's going to be a high of 68 or 70, but it's sunny. So, yeah, I think it's Friday is the one that's just pretty dicey, which who knows? Maybe they do a doubleheader on Saturday. I'd kind of be for that, to be honest. So
I think it would be 2 7 innings, though.
Man, well, you save pitching.
By the way, we do not know who's going to start for Arkansas on Saturday.
I had to ask you if Keys is getting bumped.
I mean, he's definitely getting reprimanded. I think they very well could end up starting him. I could see Ben Bybee, who didn't throw that well last week. If Ben Bybee had thrown well in his game, I guess it would have been Sunday. I would be like extremely confident it's him. It still might be him. You know what? Who also I would not rule out for this. Mr. Gackle.
I was about to ask if Wood is to the point where they don't feel like they've got to piggyback that.
Yeah, I think we'll know whenever Wood, because Wood's going to throw, if I had to guess, 50, 55 pitches. Mm-hmm. If he's able to get through 4 innings and Arkansas has a big lead, or I don't know, I could see them like just going to someone else. You know what I mean? Like if Gackle doesn't come in right after Wood, especially because that would be game 2. You would have gone through game 1 and, either use Jimenez. They also might go straight to Jimenez, which if they do that, then I would be like, oh, they really are going Gabe Gackle game 3.
Yeah. I'd love that. Which, by the way, before we get to Brandon Marcello, I did see this. Some people were talking about these little weekend promos for the Razorback baseball team. On Thursday, tomorrow, Mark Harmony anthem performance. I think I know who that is, and if it is, this guy, it's really good. So that's good. Aloha Hogs commemorative print and Junk headband giveaway for the first 1,000 fans. I assume Junk is a brand, and then it's good. I don't know. I don't listen to rap music, but Friday, you got pregame Pacifica dance performance. Y'all know what that is? That's what we were talking about, right?
I don't know what that is.
It is something that they do in the island of Hawaii.
Okay. It refers to the diverse dance traditions of the Pacific Islands, including Polynesia, Melanesia, and Micronesia. And they're serving a form of storytelling, celebration, and cultural expression. So
you've seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh,
right?
yeah. We watched it all together.
What going on in there?
We watched it together in Lexington. Don't you remember?
That's right, we did. They had that going on there, that little Pacifica dance.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. If it's going to be Forgetting Sarah Marshall, then I'm all for it. If I'm going to have Mia Kunitz
that's
there,
what Friday's going to be like. It's going to be just like Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Perfect. I'm there. Rally towel giveaway for the first 3,000 fans. Friday night fireworks and bases loaded luau, where you can wear your island apparel or attire. Okay. Got that. Hopefully Friday.
3,000 is a lot of fans.
Mm-hmm. That's a ton. And then Saturday's the 85 team reunion plus pregame ceremony. I don't know what the 85 team did. I assume something good. And then a Hawaiian shirt giveaway. And then Tusk will be at Gate A. So as you're going to the games, you got some good stuff.
Not too shabby.
Yeah. Yes, everyone's talking about, hey, what's the promos and all that? Well, there's your promos. At this point, they've better keep recruiting some Hawaiians and whatnot, because they got there's a lot of good promotional ideas and everything that go along with that. So, it's going to be great, though. I can't wait for it to all happen. But I tell you what, as part of your Arkansas update presented by our friends at Davis & Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most, we had a chance to catch up with Brandon Marcello of CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports, who has been on top of this whole story with Arkansas, NIL, getting their payment back, all of that stuff. And he's done a good job reporting it and has talked to a lot of people on both sides and had some really interesting things to say about the latest updates on that. So let's go ahead and hear from our guy, Brandon Marcello, and the latest of Razorback Athletics, Hunter Yurachek versus former players trying to get their NIL money back for their buyout time. With this latest, with the Razorbacks and Hunter Yurachek and demanding their NIL money back, it's been an entire thing, but who better to talk about it than to welcome in Brandon Marcello of CBS Sports as well as 24/7 Sports, and he joins us now. Just like, I wouldn't say it's every month, but we occasionally talk with him. But Brandon, appreciate you joining us, man. How you doing?
I'm good, John. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, and I appreciate you being on top of all of these things that's been going on. But I want to start with the situation when he first got wind of Arkansas wanting that money. You had the Hunter Yurachek putting out that statement on social media, really put a lot of things into motion and a lot of things in perspective. But just what was your reaction to when you first saw Yurachek taking that approach, and also the stance that Arkansas has taken when dealing with trying to collect their NIL money?
I was a bit surprised because you haven't seen any school or collective or athletics director come out and just straight up said, hey, let's go after the buyout money in these contracts. For so long, athletic directors, these collectives, these schools have been reluctant to even chase the money in these clauses because they think it would be bad PR potentially. And also there's been questions about the legality of these contracts anyway, before revenue sharing comes into play. Potentially on July 1, but also with all the lawsuits we've seen over the last 5 years against the NCAA. And when it comes to the value of student athletes and everything. So it was a bit surprising from that standpoint. And then doing some reporting afterward, it became clear to me that, Arkansas saw an opportunity here publicly to strike because, let's face it, the Iamaleava family has not been on the positive side of the headlines the last few weeks. And when Nico at Tennessee had that holdout with them and then his departure, the overwhelming response was in the positive for Tennessee's side of things rather than Nico Iamaleava. And then when his little brother, Madden, who's only been on Arkansas's campus for 3.5 months, decides, hey, I'm going to leave and I'm homesick and all that, that becomes an issue for schools because, several schools, a lot of schools, they'll bring a player on campus in January and then they go through spring practice and they leave. But rarely do you see it where it's like a quarterback signee you bring in, especially a freshman, and then they leave. So you've invested money, of course, into the player and sign a contract, but also you're investing time, coaching time, and development into that player, and you're taking snaps away from other players that could potentially be on campus because you're on the understanding with that contract that you've signed for a year or whatever long that you're going to be there that upcoming season and potentially beyond. And so that's why they put together these deals. They don't put together, a semester deal or whatever. They put together a full year with the understanding of you're going to play through this season. And that's kind of Arkansas's standing of it. They saw an opportunity here to kind of go public with all of this because they had already previously been chasing money from receiver Desmond James, who didn't do anything last season until that bowl game. And he exploded in that, signs a new contract with Arkansas, then opts a few days later to leave. And so when you bundle this all together, Arkansas sees an opportunity here to do this. And college athletics world, I'll tell you right now, is keeping a very close eye on this. Every administrator and coach I've talked to since this kind of broke last week are just enthralled with it because this is going to set a precedent for them because they've also been reluctant to pursue things. But depending on how this all ends, will kind of determine what schools all across the country do in the very near future.
Well, you mentioned it, and I know you've talked about how this type of thing has happened before. It's just a matter of a school like Arkansas kind of stepping up to the plate and having these demand letters sent out for contract. How prevalent is it? I mean, is it something to where for a long time, a lot of these players who either transferred out or whatever just said, okay, try something and I'm going to keep my money over here? Is it maybe some agents' representations knowing that most schools aren't going to pursue it, so they encourage their guys, but hey, they're not going to do anything, don't worry about it? I mean, how prevalent and how deep does this go as far as the behavior of something like this particular incident?
A lot, not all, but of course, not all contracts include buyouts right now for these players. So you have to consider that as well. A lot more of these, especially as you've seen, Blueprint Sports, which helps run the Arkansas NIL collective, and interestingly enough, also run the UCLA collective where Madden transferred to. They've been more so putting, buyouts in these contracts as well. But again, a lot of schools just aren't really enforcing it. And I think that, word gets around, of course, among agents and players, and then they don't feel like these things have teeth to them. So they're more likely to leave. And that's what makes this so much more important. And why everybody in college athletics is watching this, because that might change. If Arkansas ends up going to court with this and then ends up winning it in front of a judge, that sets a precedent for this, because we haven't seen this happen in the public arena right now. And then, of course, also there's a possibility with all the legal threats from Arkansas's side that maybe there's a settlement of some sort out of court, which would, again, set a precedent for these schools to kind of follow.
Well, I think another thing that people are interested in is anytime they hear the name Tom Mars get mentioned, especially in college athletics. He's a guy that's done a lot of different things in a lot of different angles, and the Arkansas Edge has kind of hired him on. What kind of impact and what type of angle does that have when you bring in somebody like a Tom Mars? What's kind of going to be his role, and what kind of impact can it have on the end result of whatever ends up happening here?
He's an attorney, as a lot of people know, and he's been dealt with a couple of Arkansas related cases in the past. He just doesn't lose cases. He ends up getting something that is agreeable with his clients. And so that's a pretty big hire on Arkansas side. Meanwhile, Desmond James is being represented by Darren Heitner, who, if you're on X and Twitter, you've heard that name in college football, because he's been heavily involved in the NIL space and is a player advocate and has been for several years. He's helped kind of form the one of the collectives at Florida a few years ago. He's helped athletes kind of negotiate and understand contracts that they are signing as some of these schools. And He reached out to me after this all broke and told me that, hey, I'm representing Desmond James. And, he told me that he believes that this contract's unlawful, can't be enforced. And they believe that they'll win in court should it go there. And here it is, early this week, I've keep following it while I'm working on other things, of course. But my understanding is that, Arkansas's NIL folks, the representation there, has talked to both parties, Desmond James and Nico Iamaleava, their representatives right now. And the understanding that I'm getting is that both players plan on battling this. They believe that they don't owe a buyout, and that has continued even after everything that's ramped up here in the public space the last several days. So this could get interesting here in the next week or two.
Speaking with Brandon Marcello of CBS Sports as well as 24/7 Sports. So, Brandon, knowing that, just how far do you think Arkansas is going to take it? Because Yurchek making that statement to me at least said, "Hey, I'm putting this out there," and I feel like making that statement doesn't mean, okay, well, this is it, and I'm stepping back, and then if something happens, I fold. Like, how deep do you think Arkansas and a university like that is going to take it? And also, do you think other universities are kind of hoping that they do take it pretty far to set that precedent that you're mentioning?
Yeah, potentially. The one thing I would say is, like, no one really wants to go to court anyway. They just want to get everything done out of court, because you get into discovery and the courtroom very much kind of shines a bright light on the darkness. So you'll see text messages, emails, maybe phone conversations and stuff like that pop up that, might be embarrassing for one side or another, or maybe both sides, that they don't necessarily want out there in the public. And that's usually kind of what leads to settlements out of court anyway, because they don't want their dirty laundry out there. And I wrote about this Tuesday for CBS Sports in my mailbag, just about like the not necessarily the dangers, but the positives and negatives of this for both sides. As much as like the court of public opinion's been like on Arkansas side with this, because I think a lot of that's been driven by the Iamaleava saga with the brothers. Both sides have something to lose here, and that's kind of some, not necessarily respect, but kind of a blemish on their brand or resume and the way they go about business. Because if it does go to court, maybe some other things would come out, and I would assume that neither side wants to do that. But I do know that if it were to go to court, and if it was in Washington County in circuit court, that Arkansas, I would think, would probably have a pretty sizable advantage there with having a judge overseeing that's in the Arkansas area and understands what's going on. Whereas if it was in a different venue, I don't know if Arkansas would have as much of a favorability there. And I don't think, I think if you gave truth serum to everybody in the involved in all this, I wouldn't think any of them would want to go to court. But if it goes to court, it would be fascinating.
Yeah, I would think the last time something as big as this was in a court was like when Nolan Richardson got fired, and that whole thing, which, it didn't end up being a great deal. And I'm with you as far as the winners and losers of all this. But I think from the Razorback fan perspective, at least the fans I've been talking about, this is such a conundrum, because I think the vast majority of people, which you can get almost nobody to agree on anything, I think the vast majority of the people are like, hey, I agree that if you sign a contract, you have to uphold your end of the bargain, and whether you're on one side or the other. And if you break said contract, and in that contract stated, here are the consequences of it, you should have to pay that. I think everybody agrees with that. It's on board. But then at the same time, it's like, well, do you really want to be that school that's known for, hey, you better not go to have other people recruiting against you. Better not go over there, because if something goes wrong, they're going to come after you and they're going to sue you. Do you feel like this is going to hurt Arkansas in the long run because of that image that you talked about, and also the fact that they don't want to be maybe known as that school that, hey, if you don't uphold every end of your bargain, we're going to take you to court and it's going to get messy with you?
I don't know. And the reason why I say that is because, like, if Arkansas goes through with this and ends up coming on the right side of it, other schools are going to end up doing it. So the other coaches who are trying to negatively recruit against Arkansas, if that's the case, they should know that their school's probably going to end up doing the same thing too. Maybe not as publicly, but they'll end up doing it too, because Arkansas set the precedent for this. But listen, every school is getting negatively recruited against for multiple reasons or whatever, things we don't even know about. And that's just the way it goes. It's always been like that. I'm not sure this would be something that would drastically affect Arkansas. That's why, for example, like last week, Arkansas signed into law, allowing student athletes, players, to not have to pay state income tax on their NIL money, which no one else is doing out there. You would see that as a positive, right? And, the everyday, or not the everyday fan, but the casual fan doesn't really pay attention to things, and they hear that, they might automatically think, whoa, man, that means maybe we can get a big time player that we haven't really been able to get in the past. No, probably not, because at the end of the day, yeah, money matters a lot to these kids, but at the end of the day, they still want to go to certain programs, things that fit them. They want to be around those type of coaches that they really get along with. And, rarely does like this negative recruiting stuff really change the way things go either way. Otherwise, you would see more, 5-star players every now and again flaking out on, such and such school that's used to getting them going to a smaller school. By that, I mean, just a school that doesn't win, 10, 11 games every year. At the end of the day, they're usually drawn to the programs that fits them best.
It's funny you brought that up, because that was going to be my final question to you, was about the state income tax, and how, in Arkansas, I know a lot of fans are sitting there like, I don't want to pay income taxes, but yet the student athletes, they don't have to pay it, which, not to get to the political side of things, but it is an interesting tactic. What type, I know you went into it a little bit, but what type of impact do you think that'll have? And is this something that is common, and maybe you see other places do it, but why Arkansas? Why they start with that? Why go that direction in the legal side of things here in the state of Arkansas?
Well, Georgia tried to do it, and it failed. It did not get passed there. And a lot of people kind of assumed that was going to end up happening there. And Georgia has been very much in lockstep with the University of Georgia in this NIL space, but they didn't do it. And then Arkansas ends up doing it. I'm not sure that a lot of other universities will be able to convince their state legislatures to do this. That's just my take on it here in the early going, after, this just happened a few days ago. But I can understand the frustration among residents in Arkansas. I'm a resident of Arkansas. It'd be nice if I didn't have to pay state income tax. It'd be nice for anybody to be able to say that, but I do think that, everybody wants to see players get paid. You don't want us to go back to the way it was. But again, I think what's been not lost in this, but a lot of people understand this, is like over the last 4 to 5 years, we've been doing all these things that we've wanted for players for a while and believe they deserve, but we're doing so without actually treating them like adults, and then also preparing them for adulthood in a lot of ways. We've just kind of thrown this money at them without saying, well, you need an agent who's registered with the state, or this or that. You need a lawyer to look over these documents. And you need to remember to pay your taxes. And a lot of schools have done some education with that. But again, they're still kids, and they're probably also being led by some agents that aren't necessarily looking out for their best interests, or for that matter, have never been agents before and just jumped into this because they see, like in anything in life, they see a fresh market that's brand new. They can go exploit it and go make some money, right? And that's kind of what the NIL space had turned into over the last couple of years. And it's led to some really bad things, some shady dealings. And, but again, I think all that say, a lot of the, fans, they sit there and see these developments, and they start going, well, why are we saying you don't have to pay state income tax? Well, I have to, teachers have to, why do they have to do it and you don't? Explain that to me. Why do we keep doing this stuff without properly explaining it? Also, and you're seeing it also with this case with Arkansas going after these two players, Madani Amaliava and Desmond James, where the adults in the state and across the country are going, yeah, enforce your contracts. I have to sign contracts sometimes, whether it's on a house or even with my job, and I have to, follow those directions. Why do they not have to? If they're wanting to be adults and we're trying to prepare them from adulthood, why aren't we treating them like adults? So you're starting to see some pushback a little bit, right, from the common fan and the common person against what's been happening with the NIL space. But I think, again, that's not necessarily the fault of the players. It's actually the fault of the adults in the room for not properly preparing them for this, but also just throwing all this at them and all these, potential, traps and things they could fall into. And we're just doing a terrible job of setting them up for success in this system.
Yeah, I just feel like, hey, if you told Razorback fans, does it mean if you get a national championship in a sport, as long as you get to pay income taxes and they don't, maybe most people sign up for that, but that's just the fandom coming out. But it is a crazy world that's out there, and it continues to develop each and every day. And I know you've been on top of it. So for those of you who have not read all the reports and who's going to be up to date on the reports, be sure to check out Brandon Marcello and all of his work there at CBS Sports, as well as 24/7 Sports, and keeping you all informed on the latest with NIL, with Arkansas, with college football and everything. But Brandon, appreciate you joining us, man. Enjoy it, and we'll be catching up with you later down the road.
All right. Thanks, John.